Welcome back to the SourceMetalSensor.net forums. Let's play Summer School. This time I'm playing Gokujo Parodius, better known in English as Parodius Fantastic Journey. This is a very interesting Japan-only shmup developed by Konami in 1994 for the Super Nintendo. You can play as a variety of different characters. We have Vic Viper from the Gradius series, an octopus, Twin Bee from the game of the same name, a penguin, a bunny girl running a missile, a fish, an angelic pig, a blue guy in a paper airplane, and 3 characters from other Konami franchises exclusive to the Super Nintendo: Goemon, Kid Dracula, and Upa from Bio Miracle Bokute Upa, which is a Nintendo Entertainment System Japan-only obscure platformer where you play as a baby arm of a magical Rackle who can inflate his enemies like a balloon until they pop. And no, I'm not making that up, only in Japan, folks. Now, initially when I played this game, I used one of the more unusual characters, like the penguin, or the baby. But unfortunately, our challenge for this week kind of locked me into using the Vic Viper here. You see, our theme this time is Driver's Ed, which means that we have to play a game where you control a vehicle for the entire length of the video. And as the only vehicle in this entire game is indeed the Vic Viper, or its 2-player equivalent, the Lord British, my hand was kind of forced, because last time I checked, a penguin wasn't a vehicle. Now, Parodius is a very interesting series as a whole. This is the second of 6 Parodius games that have been released so far. 3 titles to be ported over to the Super Nintendo. The first game to come out, imaginatively entitled Parodius by Konami, came out for the NES in 1990 and was later ported over to the Super Nintendo. Now, that game was released in America and Europe. The following 2 were not. And by the time you see the end of this video, you will fully understand why not, because the Parodius series is known for 3 things: great gameplay, great music, and insanity. In that order, roughly. Now, the Parodius series is a spin-off or sister series of the Gradius franchise, as if you couldn't tell by the name, because parody plus Gradius, Parodius. Oh, Konami, you're so clever, except not because a child of 5 could have figured that out. But because this is a spin-off of Gradius, you can kind of see that reflected in the gameplay, because it's very similar to that of Gradius 3 for the Super Nintendo. The controls are almost identical, and the power-up system is very similar. As you can see in the bottom corner here, well, not corner, bottom of the screen here, we have various options that scroll through every time you pick up a red capsule. You press the Y button to select one, and then you get that weapon. At the moment I'm currently rocking the double and the missiles. And the double is very useful here because it can destroy all the stuff that's being hoisted in by these cranes and get you a massive amount of points. I just picked up an extra life for racking up 20,000 points. It's not too hard in the early going to pick up lives in Parodius. However, don't let all these wacky hijinks fool you. Beneath the rather unorthodox exterior of this game lies a rather difficult shmup, and it has a nigh-on legendary difficulty curve. Well, it does for all 10 people who have heard of it, like myself. Another thing this series is renowned for are its absolutely crazy boss fights, such as this one. A giant panda wearing a ballerina's tutu with a duck on its head. No, you are not seeing things, and no, we are not all experiencing some collective drug trip together. This is actually happening on the screen right now. Now, the boss fight itself is actually extremely simple. All you've got to shoot the duck on its head to damage him, and if you stay in the top left-hand corner of the screen, none of his attacks can actually reach you. My preferred strategy is to get my hands on a laser and an option and just keep blasting away. But let's be honest here, you don't care about the boss fight, you care about the sheer wacky concept here, and there you go, he's dead already, and also the fact that the music was sampling In the Mood by Joe Garland, and then it was sampling part of Carmen by Bizet. And that boss actually makes a return visit in the 3rd Gradius game, which I really cannot pronounce the Japanese title of because I suck at Japanese. But in that game, it starts off encased in a disco ball, and then it breaks out, and it's become an opera singer. Again, folks, only in Japan. Anyway, now that craziness is over and done with, let's sit back, relax, and watch me blast a ton of enemies while I explain a little bit more about the gameplay. That blue capsule I just picked up a second ago, that wants you to destroy any minor enemy on screen, for it won't work for all enemies in the game. And I do like these little, dare I say, calming sections, but it's not really that calming because a load of enemies come at you between the various levels, because they give you a chance to catch your breath from the crazy boss fights, and also to stack up on a ton of power-ups You want to grab every single power-up you can lay your grubby little paws on. We now have another change of music to signify a change of level. This time it's sampling Stars and Stripes Forever by John Philip Sousa, and I cannot say enough about how great the music is in this game. Oh yeah, look out for the cat pirate ship with a scuba mask that we just blew off. Seriously guys, this game is just mad! Now, interesting thing about the power-ups in this game, in addition to the options and the bottom part of the screen, you'll sometimes come across bigger enemies like this pufferfish, and when you kill it, it will explode into a load of different colour bells. The golden bells just give you points, but the coloured ones are where it's at, because they give you various different items and power-ups. The white bells I'm using here gives you the megaphone power-up, where you basically shout Japanese words and letters at your enemies and make them explode, although I have absolutely no idea what I'm saying because I can't read Japanese. For all I know, I just make delicious sushi. I also would like to think that short one with the heart in it is him saying, "I love Lucy." Quite why I want to think that, God knows. The other bells do various different things. The blue one will give you a screen clearing bomb that you trigger with the A button. The red bell will give you a laser power that sort of moves in the screen and destroys anything it touches, and you get 3 shots of that. The green one, as you've seen earlier, will make you giant and invincible and is useful for just plying through everything in your path. And the purple one is perhaps the most useful of all. It acts like a blue capsule in that it also turns all your enemies into red capsules for your collecting pleasure. My strategy for this game is simple. Get the laser and keep it. Because it seriously makes things so much easier. And now we're fighting the cat pirate ship, or to give it its real name, the cat battleship. It's very, very simple for a mini-boss. Just destroy all its ornaments and then shoot it in the face until it explodes and goes black. I should mention that the bells originally come from Twin B, another shmup from Konami I've never played before. Maybe I should, because I'm not really a shmup kind of guy, but this week has kind of inspired me to seek out and play some more shmups. They're kind of fun, especially ones made by Konami. Anyway, another change of music here symbolises our second boss. A giant mermaid with a ship for a hat. Again, you just can't make this up, can you? She looks quite intimidating, but again, she's a pushover. She will attack by shouting Japanese letters at you. I can't tell if that's kanji or katakana because I can't read Japanese. And if she says "yeah" twice, get near to her because she will try and wreck you with a tidal wave. And believe me, you don't want that to happen. The name of this song is actually an original Konami track entitled "I Am Eliza." And judging by how quickly this boss fight went, her full name is Eliza Doolittle because that was just pathetic. One quick thing before we enter level 3. You've already seen that there are various different characters to pick, but each character has their own unique weapon configuration and items they can get. And each character also has a 2-player equivalent. In the Vic Viper's case, it's the Lord British, which is another ship that appeared in the Gradius series. And I was kind of tempted to set this up to play as Player 2, solely for the purpose of playing as the Lord British to represent my country, but in the end it was too much of a hassle, so I didn't bother. Other equivalents include Abisumaru for Gomon, who else? Rupa for Upa, I think she's his twin sister. I cannot remember anything about Biomiracle Bakute Upa at all. And the other characters have similar equivalents, like the penguins is a female penguin, the octopus is a female octopus, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Although interesting, Kid Dracula's counterpart is himself. Go figure. We're now in level 3, and I have to confess, I'm not a huge fan of level 3. The music is okay. It's based on a polka tune by Johann Strauss Jr., I believe, but it's not as good as some of the other tracks in this game. There are multiple paths to take through this Candyland, I guess, but they're all pretty difficult. I mean, just look at this. This is getting brutal with the amount of enemies on the screen and the amount of shots to dodge. I mean, the megaphone does its work here by blocking some of the bullets, but we have penguin tanks, green chefs, and amorphous blobs. One of which just killed me and I didn't even see it. Honestly, the first time I was playing this, I was so irate because I didn't even see what killed me. There was so much on the screen that I was concentrating on. It turns out I flew into that blob, as you can see for yourselves in the video. And the absolute worst part about dying, much like its namesake Gradius 3, when you die, you get stripped of all your weapons and power-ups. Seriously, every single one of them, and you have to start again from scratch collecting capsules. This is what was referred to within the series as Gradius syndrome, and Parodius has it in spades. In fact, you see that O option at the bottom of the screen? Also, I just died again, isn't that wizard? That O option is basically the item equivalent of Gradius syndrome. It might as well be renamed to GS, or in this case I guess PS for Parodius syndrome, but although they are nice enough to let you keep your force field if you have one equipped. Although chances are if you get to this point, you probably won't have. See, this is my problem with shmups, and this is why I tend not to do very well at them, or not play them all that often. It's because I get to a certain point where I'm doing really well, and then suddenly the game decides it's been too easy on me, and kicks me straight in the touch, and I have to do the same level over and over and over again, case in point, and it just gets frustrating. Fortunately, this is the last time I died in the entire video. I don't care if that's a spoiler, I'm just giving you a reward for watching me die constantly over and over again. I am still pretty good at this game, guys, I promise you. Now, when you're playing through this game yourselves, assuming there's any of you crazy out there to play this game yourselves, you might encounter something interesting happening between levels. It's kind of a random occurrence. But sometimes, when you finish a level, instead of going straight to the little in-between section between worlds, Ride of the Valkyries, or a rockin' remix of it anyway, will sound out, and that's the cue that you've entered a bonus stage of sorts, except it's not really a bonus stage. I believe it's referred to as Stage X. And once you hear Ride of the Valkyries by Wagner, that's your cue to start panicking, because a giant-ass airship packed with moe heads and various other craziness will fly in and try to take you down. Also, Tetris in a Parodius game, who'd have thought it? Because it's not really a true stage, if you die just once, it will kick you out and you'll not get to play it again until you restart the game, because as a random occurrence, there may be times when you don't actually play it at all. If it happens to me, it usually happens between stages 2 and 3. In fact, I had a couple of failed takes in this game where it did happen to me and I died. But obviously in this take, for whatever reason, it didn't show up. But the worst part of the stage by far are the bosses. The mini-boss isn't too bad. It's a robotic Mr. Potato Head with multiple eyes that flies around trying to shoot you. Difficult, but not mind-raping. The boss, not so much. It's a giant pink moe head, female moe head, but that's not even the worst thing about it. Vomits up smaller green moe heads as missiles. I shit you not, that's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen in the game, and I was not expecting it. And speaking of bosses, we have another one right here. This icing bag robot thing with a pair of lips on it. Now this is going to sound crazy, but this boss is actually remarkably similar to the third boss in Gradius 3. Now I know what you're thinking, I'll pull the other one, Rainiac. The flipping Vic Viper never fought an icing bag monster. Well no it didn't, but the boss in that did fight incredibly similar to this. The strategy here is simple. The icing bag thing will try and trap you between it, and then it will either open up and shoot lasers that you have to dodge, or it will try and ram you. There are little guys in its mouth, and you have to shoot them to destroy the boss. This takes a long time, especially if you don't have the laser, but it's not too difficult. That's the only time in this entire boss fight, for whatever reason, he tried to ram me. And usually he tries to ram me a lot more often, and that's the thing that's going to kill you most times of all. And much like the giant panda ballerina, this boss also makes a return appearance in the third Parodius game. Although again, he is severely upgraded. Now he has 3 icing bags, although he does fight you in pretty much the same way as this guy does. Now, the song that plays when you're fighting this guy is one of the catchiest in the game, in my opinion. And if I tell you its official title is Mambo No. 5, you might be a bit surprised. Those of you who can remember 1990s pop music will be well aware that there was a one-hit wonder called Lou Bega who had a massive hit called Mambo No. 5. You might be thinking that song sounds nothing like it, but it turns out that that song that came out in the 1990s was based on a much older song, and that's what that track is sampling. And with the demise of that boss, and the 15-minute limit rapidly approaching, I think now is as good a time as any to end off here. I'll just sum up a few things. Yes, this game is weird as hell, but my god is it fun. And the soundtrack is probably one of the best ever on the Super Nintendo, and I'm not even exaggerating. Oh, one final point, these American Eagles, they were actually a boss in the first Parodius game, along with the pufferfish from Stage 2, but for some reason, they've been downgraded to normal enemies. On that bombshell, I think we'll end it off here. So until next time, bye for now. Take that, Uncle Sam!